All right, Zach. It is take 70, which would have been real nice if we could have got this done on the last one, but we're going to have to live with it. So, as I was trying to tell you for my opening bit before you hopelessly derailed us with your Hearts of Iron campaign, um, many of the viewers of our
Hearts of
channel
Iron
will.
4 campaign.
All right, well, point taken. But many of the viewers of our channel will know that recently I purchased a building, and part of that, I had to capture all of the raccoons that were living in said building before I got there. And so once I caught them all, as you do, I started training the entire group of them like little Pokemon. And that's what I've been up to in my garage for the last several months, and I have successfully trained all of them to launch themselves through tables, so I am fully prepared for when the Bills start to play in the fall. But I've had a horrible day today because unfortunately, the neighbor kid came home wearing his Bills jersey, and the entire pack of raccoons climbed over the fence and launched themselves through the neighbor's picnic table, and I have now got to replace a picnic table in addition to all of my other responsibilities. So that's what I've been up to. How's your day been?
I mean, I would say I was having a worse day than you, but that sounds pretty terrible. I was out, doing that thing that I do in the world. But wow, yeah, raccoons. That's extreme. This is true, listeners. He actually does. He had all these raccoons at his house. Like it was real, and I support them attacking this person. But that is a very stressful event.
Yeah, well, he was. They're too well
No,
trained.
no,
That was the
what's the thing
problem.
about raccoons is I was thinking about earlier today too, and since we brought up Hearts of Iron, like I was going to talk about this earlier. Like I was playing that game, and that's when I think the first time you messaged me about these raccoons was. So like it kind of tied into what we were doing like before we were talking with that earlier take.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's fair. I mean, it is easy to jump from raccoons to Hearts of Iron, and they are a little tiny army at this point that lives in my garage. But I suppose since we have now done 70 takes, we should probably try to get started with this theory. What do you think?
I'm gonna go ahead and say yeah, we can probably go ahead and get started with this one.
All right. So in that vein, Zach, I have a theory for you today.
All right. What on earth could your theory possibly be? I guess let me take a guess here. Let
You
me take a
you gonna
take a
try to
wild.
hold on this before the first clue. All right, I like it.
Yeah, I'm doing this one differently today. We're gonna put this out there. Your theory is that strong Belwas is secretly a Baratheon.
All right. Well, I'm gonna pull up a new theory from the email, considering you've got that one correct.
Oh
We're gonna
no!
have
Oh,
to,
no, no, that was not intentional. Oh no!
yeah, completely ruin that episode. So we're not doing another take. I'm just going to quickly pull up a theory here.
I'm sorry,
All
Tom. That,
right,
that, that was that
scrolling,
was not that was not my intention, Tom. I'm sorry about that.
scrolling. No, yep. Sometimes when you're right, you're right. And all right, I think we can do this one. This one seems like it should work. Hopefully, won't be too insane. Um, All right. So in this one, your opening clue is everything you did brought you here, where you are now, where you belong. This is said by the three-eyed crow Bran to Theon in season 8 of The Dragon Show.
This is also what you said to those raccoons, right?
Yes, this is how I've been training them to be like, no, you belong here. Now launch yourself through the table every time you see a Bills jersey.
Okay. So, uh, Theon is related to Euron Greyjoy, and we think that the three-eyed crow talks to Euron Greyjoy also. So, the three-eyed crow is imparting some information that he maybe has shared with Euron previously to lead him on a path to intersect with Bran. Am I
That
getting any dings?
That is not. I don't see Euron in this theory anywhere. I'm quickly refreshing my mind on this theory, looking through the email. I don't see Euron anywhere, but that does sound somewhat similar to a video that was recently, the one that we recently did with that local crazy person, Michael Talks About Stuff. And being aware of his theories might, on some level or another, help you in figuring out this one. This one has some of those same vibes, but
Okay.
no Euron in this one.
Well, the three-eyed crow is who Bran is seeking, and he goes with Mira Reed and Jojen Reed, and we're friends with Mira Reed in real life. Um, I wonder if
Yeah.
that could have anything to do with it. Could that connect anyhow?
It doesn't have so much to do with Mira and Jojen by the looks of it. It has more to do with the other character in this quote, the one being spoken
Oh, okay. So to Jojen.
to Theon.
Oh, to Theon. Okay, all right. Okay, to Theon. Okay, so Theon is also Reek.
He is, yeah.
Now, he has a connection to Ramsay, and there's some suspicion that the Boltons are related to the others. Does this have to do with some sort of connection to the Boltons and the others? Is this a Reek stopping the others? We're going to be going north of the wall with Reek.
It doesn't not have to do with Reek helping to stop the others, but it's not in the way that you are coming about it now. No. There is there is something that involves Ramsey that would get you a ding. But you have to figure out what Ramsey does with Reek.
Ramsay makes Reek eat rats.
It's
What is
not
this?
that one.
Rats. Ramsay also has those horrible dogs, and there's talk of him warging into the dogs. I wonder.
Not that one. Nope.
I'm gonna have you deal me a card, Tom. You've stumped me. I can't get a hold of this one right away.
Um, well, okay, I found a ding here that does say Theon was tortured by Ramsay Snow as a ding, but it's we're trying to get to the specific thing that he did within the torturing that that would
Oh, the penis. That's what it's got to be, right?
yeah that there you got the ding. Yeah, Theon has had his manhood removed by Ramsay Snow.
Yeah, Theon no longer has a man's hood. It's gone.
Yes, and according to this theory, that may actually be useful, which I suppose we could go on a little bit of a sidebar here about like
Tom,
that
you're not
quote.
telling me that like the manhood's gonna come back, are you? Like, is it gonna be important? Is it gonna be returning?
It probably isn't returning. I don't think the manhood will be whited and impregnating anyone, but it being gone is weirdly potentially useful for this theory. Which okay, going back to that original quote, isn't that a little bit messed up? For Bran to just be like, "Yo, everything happens for a reason. Everything that happened to you needed to happen to bring you here." It's like,
Well,
yeah,
Bran is sadistic, and like not to tie this back into Hearts of Iron, but like I was playing Stalin, and Bran really almost makes me think of like a Stalin style totalitarian dictatorship in the making. You know, if you think about what the end of the show, we're getting this like god emperor who really he definitely resembles like totalitarian Russia, you know, and the Soviet Union in a lot of regards. Does this have anything to do with that? Could this be a crossover into real world totalitarianism?
I don't I'm searching the document for Stalin and I don't find that as a ding, but you're not wrong, right? Like the implication of Bran having all of the powers that he has and the fact that like all of these horrible things happen to Theon, it feels like maybe Bran is implying that like he sorta set Theon up
Bran
for
did this.
something?
Bran did this to Theon. Is that what we're saying? Is Bran implying that he has set up Theon to go through all of this and lose the manhood? That
Yes,
Bran is pulling these strings
that is part of the theory is you
like a
have to
puppet
figure
master.
out what specific thing Theon has been set up for, and I should note, it's sort of about how that idea translates to the books, right? Like, it's a quote from the show, but, like, if you imagine that everything Theon is going through is setting him up for something, um, that's kinda what we're driving at here. So, like, if you think of some things in the books about Theon, maybe that will help as well.
Okay. What about Theon's relationship with the Starks? Theon
That
always wanted to be a Stark, and he used to think about becoming one of the family. And it's the lady of what are they called?
La-
The horse ones.
Lady Dustin.
Lady Dustin, that's the one. Lady Dustin has takes Theon to the crypts and asks him a bunch of personal questions about all that. Does it have to do with
Yeah.
Theon's connection to the Stark family?
Yeah, what is his connection? What is his specifically like at the beginning of the story? What is he?
He is a prisoner, a ward.
Yeah, ding. Theon is called the Ward of Winterfell.
Oh my god,
And
Tom,
there
Tom, I feel like maybe you're going in the direction of Theon's manhood is going to be used to ward someone off. Is that you're not going there, are you? It's not that kind of theory, is it?
it is not the no, it's not that Theon's going to throw his manhood at someone to delay them for 5 seconds while Bran makes his escape. No.
Now I have seen this on Reddit that Theon's manhood would be used to ward off the others.
Really, really.
Yeah,
That's an interesting one.
yeah, it's out there, and I didn't think that we'd want to do that theory. I was going to send you a message about it because it was so wild, but I was like, I don't know if we should do that. That might not be safe for YouTube, you know.
Yeah, we're gonna have to skirt around some lines here to make this one YouTube appropriate. I hope we'll get we're gotta be past 5 minutes now. I'm pretty sure we will be
Oh
fine.
yeah, definitely. We're definitely past 5 minutes now.
Um but yeah, and there is a quote that we could potentially put up, but it's I was a boy of 10 when I was taken to Winterfell as ward of Eddard Stark. A ward in name, a hostage in truth. So I was a boy of 10 when I was taken to Winterfell as ward of Eddard Stark, a
Gosh,
ward in name, a hostage
wouldn't
in
it be
truth.
wild if wouldn't it be wild if all of that whole situation was caused by Bran? You know, time traveling Bran causing all the Greyjoy rebellions. 'Cause he needed some Theon to lose
You
manhood.
know, honestly, I hadn't considered the meddling going back that far, but it's not out of the question. But yeah, the uh the whole idea of Theon being the ward is pretty relevant to this theory. Um, and also, I definitely thought you were gonna say that, you saw that on when you said, "I saw that on Reddit," I definitely thought you were gonna bring up the story that maybe you have heard about one time about a man who did, uh, being chased by the cops, cut off his own manhood and throw it at the cops and
Oh
still
wow,
ended up getting caught.
I
Yeah,
I had not
that
heard
was
that
a
story, Tom. That's an alarming story.
that's a very alarming story that did happen at one point, long time ago. But yeah, I remember hearing that story. It was a news story for a minute there. Uh, like gotta be 15 plus years ago at this point. But no, that's not what he's going to do. So we can thankfully move on from that sidebar.
All right, well, if it has to do with Theon being warded, and it has to do with, and it's not, sorry, it doesn't have to do with Bran manipulating Theon being warded. I'm struggling to find the intersection there. Can you deal me another card?
Yes. Let me get the random number generator here. Do all right. It says number 7. So number 7 is are you familiar with Skyrim? Uh, because this is a external clue from Skyrim. It's
Only minutely. I don't play as much Skyrim as I do Hearts of Iron 4.
all right. Well, this is during the Dragonborn's first lesson at the College of Winterhold. Hulfdir instructs the apprentices about the proper use of ward spells. So, what does that make you think of? The fact that he teaches you ward spells. Are you familiar with what a ward spell is
Yeah,
in
it's like
Skyrim?
well, I mean, I think of ward spells. They usually kind of hold things at bay. Is that what they do, or do they protect you
Yes.
from something?
Yes, exactly. So, given
Is so? Are
what
you
else
saying
we've seen.
Are you saying that Theon is some kind of protective spell, or warding is some kind of protective spell or protective tradition?
There
Maybe like,
is there is some wordplay potentially going on with the Ward of Winterfell here. Now, what did Theon do in the television show, by the way? After Bran said that to him, what did he do?
ooh, Tom, you got to remember that my television show watching,
Oh yeah,
I usually was falling asleep with my computer on my lap.
that's right, that's right. Um, well, if you do or do you not recall at all? Were you completely did Bran telling Theon everything happens for a reason, including all of your torture? Did that just put you right out to sleep?
Oh yeah, Tom, I was gone.
Okay. Well, in that case, the clue is that Theon in the show protects Bran as though it's like some big thing. So yeah, Theon dies to protect Bran from the Night King, which in the show he kind of buys him like 15 seconds or so, but that is an
So he's
important
like a
part of the
ward.
TV.
He kind of wards the Night King away from Bran a little bit.
He is, yes, he is literally like a ward in that he also protects Bran. So
So, does this theory
yeah,
go beyond Theon as a ward? Are we starting to talk about Bran using multiple people as wards, or creating a larger ward to ward away the others?
it's more about can we figure out what the heck is going on with Theon being called the Ward of Winterfell, and then literally basically being a ward in the TV show. But like, if that translates into the book in any way, how would it come across in the books?
All
Because like
right.
the TV show got rid of a lot of um. Well, the TV show did a lot of things where people ended up sort of doing the same thing, but then in different ways because, there was the show. So, like, yeah, like, Theon probably isn't gonna, like, actually sword fight a bunch of others, but what might he do?
He could still die protecting Bran,
Yeah, so and, um,
or he could
this
carry
is
Bran.
this is the part where it is going to be a bit difficult, I think, to make the jump, but, if you're as I said, if you're familiar with some Michael Talks About Stuff theories about the others and things like that, you might be able to get there.
I know that Michael thinks the wall brings the others, or rather, like there might even be others inside the wall. So I'm wondering, does any of this have to do with the wall's magic, like the others' inability to cross through the wall? Is Bran maybe going to use Theon in some sort of sacrificial sense to ward people away? Like I've heard Michael talk about
Yeah.
there potentially being people sacrificed to make the wall with death magic.
Yes, so that is sort of the vibes we're going for is it's a magical sacrificial ward is much closer
So, so,
to what
so
we're going towards here.
Theon might be killed and used in a ritual to ward something.
Yeah, it's not even I mean, a bit of a hint to say he might not even be killed. It might be I mean, he could end up being killed, but there's another thing that could happen to him that may be able to create a ward. And yes, the fact that there might be people in the wall strapped to weirwood trees, and that the wall is a big magical ward, that
Would that
is
would
close
that
to a
be
ding.
would that be him being strapped to a weirwood tree, like the Winterfell weirwood tree? Like he would become literally the same ward, but in Winterfell.
Yeah, basically, we're trying to figure out how exactly that might happen. Are you familiar with the I can't remember exactly what the name of the Winterfell Theon, like the Winds of Winter Theon sample chapter is, but are you familiar with what happens in that? Or am I
Yeah,
gonna have to
yeah.
Okay.
No, I do remember. I do remember that one. He's strung up kind of like in a crucifix style fashion in front of Stannis, as I recall.
Yep, yep, that might be symbolically important. And do you remember anything crazy that happens when they talk about sacrificing or executing
The
Theon?
the raven is going off, and a lot of people
Yeah.
have said before, and I kind of tend to agree with this, that Bran and or Bloodraven might be nearby.
Yes. So do you remember what the ravens say? Or should I just, if you don't remember, I'll give you the ding because that is
Uh,
what we're
I,
getting
I,
at here.
I thought they talked about the tree or something. They've gone to tie him to a particular tree. They wanted to strap him to a particular tree. Wasn't the raven crowing tree or something like that?
Yes. So here's the part we need to write down, and then I'll read the whole quote, but it's the tree, one squawk. The tree, whilst the second screamed only Theon, Theon,
Yeah, they're
Theon.
calling his name. They're calling his name. I remember this.
Yeah, and so the full context of this is Stannis says, every Northman in my service would abandon me if I showed him any clemency. Your brother must die. And then Asha says, then do the deed yourself, your grace. The chill in Asha's voice made Theon shiver in his chains. Take him out across the lake to the islet where the weirwood grows, and strike his head off with that sorceress sword you bear. That's how Eddard Stark would have done it. Theon slew Lord Eddard's sons. Give him to Lord Eddard's gods, the old gods of the north. Give him to the tree. And suddenly there came a wild thumping, as the maester's ravens hopped and flapped inside their cages, their black feathers flying as they beat against the bars with loud and raucous caws. The tree, one squawked. The tree, whilst the second screamed only, Theon, Theon, Theon.
Yeah, that was a good
So yeah,
chapter.
yeah. And it definitely does seem like Bran or Bloodraven wants Theon brought to that weirwood tree for some reason, doesn't it?
Yeah. Do you think that maybe they will? You said they might not kill him. It might not be about his death. Do you think they're going to bleed him in front of the tree or something like that to feed his blood to the tree and create a ward?
Yeah, potentially. So, who else have we seen sort of strapped up to a weirwood tree in a similar way to
In the
Theon is
show,
chained?
yeah, in the show, they created the original Other by strapping someone to a weirwood tree in that way. And I will also say that Bran literally is a weirwood tree that drinks the blood of somebody at one point in his travels, in his mental travels. You know.
Yeah, ding. You got a ding for in the show. The others are made by strapping someone up to a weirwood tree. So, if that's a way to potentially create others, what there may be some jumps that are needed now, but that is sort of the crux of it, is that the others were created potentially with the use of bodies strapped up to weirwood trees, and they looked very similar to the way Theon is presented in that chapter.
Oh my God! This is a Theon's going to become another, isn't he? This is Theon's going to be turned into another.
That is part of, yes, that's part of the idea, but why would they turn
Only part
Theon into another?
to
What
defeat the other army. Is that maybe like? Do you think that they'll need Theon maybe to face off against the Bolton forces? The
it's
other
not
Theon.
it's not quite that. There's something that knowing knowing something that George likes to talk about in his
Okay.
stories.
So if we reach to another theorist before, I think I heard
Yeah.
Preston Jacobs previously talk about the idea that a lot of people think a third force is going to show up at this battle, and some people think that third force is going to be the others. Does this have to do with the others interfering in the Battle of Ice and Theon needing to be a ward to protect Stannis' forces from the others?
It doesn't have to do necessarily with the Battle of Ice, no, but if you know Preston Jacobs, like how much he's covered George's past works, and therefore, there's something that I guess you could say is like talked about often within the fandom that is heavily informed by things George covers in his past works. There's like a common belief about the others that is somewhat important here.
That they're actually people? Is that what we're getting at? That the others are not humans?
Not that they're people necessarily, no. It's something about their nature, like something about the whole group of them.
Is it have to do with the fact that they can't reproduce and they're kind of a dying species? Does it have to do with anything with that? Like the reason why the others were making pacts with human beings in the first place?
So that could come in later, actually. One of Michael talks about stuff's theories about how the others are made is important in this. Um, Local crazy insane person. So we'll see how accurate that theory ends up being. But are you familiar with his idea of what the others might be?
Not enough. I believe that he thought that they were some kind of shadow baby like projections, but I might be mixing that up.
Ding, yeah, yeah, yeah. He basically thinks that there's a pretty solid chance that the others could be shadow babies.
Okay.
Michael talks about stuff, speculates the others may be made by doing shadow baby magic with the people who are strapped
Yeah.
up to the weirwoods.
And this goes in tandem with them being made from the wall, more or less. Like the wall is
Yeah.
projecting them.
Yep,
Yes,
exactly.
okay, Tom. I do remember this. I do remember this theory a little bit.
So does that okay, so now if it's shadow baby magic, do you feel like that connects with anything else we've talked about on the
Definitely
board so far?
connects with Melisandre being, a factor, but she's not there. And so I the only thing it makes you come back to is, Bran and the Weirwood tree and Theon and all that sort of stuff. So
If if you remember though, something specific about Theon and something specific about the process of making shadow babies.
King's Blood. Yeah, that Theon is the rightful heir to the Iron Islands.
What does Mel have to do with Stannis
She
when
she introduces him to all of that sacrifice stuff, like like she kind of
Yeah,
gets
but
gets him with the idea that King's Blood has power, and then she makes shadow babies with him. So he's I remember
yeah,
she
I'm
supposedly
looking for the actual physical process of making the shadow baby.
doing it.
Yeah. So what on board might be relevant
Theon not
to
having
Thea?
Theon not having the proper rod and tackle.
Yeah. Yeah. So Theon is in a unique situation if he does end up indeed strapped to the trees, like these other bodies that are used to cast these dangerous shadows, in that he may be unable to cast
That's
the
the trap
evil
house.
shadows. But I think a reason you might be confused at this point still is that we have yet to hit on something that is often believed about the others. Um, what it's a concept as to how the others relate to one another.
Does this have to do with the others not being able to reproduce or anything like that? Have the others not having also any sort of man's hoods?
Or well, so if the others are, as Michael talks about, stuff suggests, essentially projections of these people who are mind merged with the weirwoods, they're essentially weirwood shadow babies,
Hmm.
cast through these physical bodies.
Yeah, so
But like,
they can't make more of themselves by doing it.
right, you'd have to do it with a shadow binder doing it with someone strapped up to the tree. But the thing about the trees is that they might all be connected. And if these bodies are mind merged with the trees, like what is mentally going on within the weirwoods? Like, you know, that's one of the things we're trying to get at here.
I mean, I don't want to say it, but I almost feel like the word you want is orgy. Like this is like, and
No, no, not quite, not quite. It has less to do with the birds and the bees, and more to do with just bees. N- Bees live in
in
a
a hive,
what?
like a hive mind. Okay, okay, a hive
Yeah,
mind,
ding, ding, ding.
Okay,
It is
okay,
often speculated that the others are part of a
a
hive
hive mind,
mind.
a hive mind.
So if strapping someone up to this tree and doing whatever magic is done in that process, if that joins them up to the hive mind, um, you could you could sort of see how that would work, right?
Well, now I feel
Like,
super awkward because I said orgy, but yeah, no, I get where you're going, Tom. I totally get.
yeah. So the if now we have a couple more leaps to make, right? That are are semi based on Michael talks about stuff theories as well. But if the others were indeed a hive mind, and there are and they're cast from these bodies that are like constantly trapped and tortured within the wall, that's probably a pretty unpleasantly tortured hive mind, right? Like
Yeah,
you'd
I would agree.
imagine.
I would agree. Tortured forever in the wall doesn't sound particularly fun.
And so with the whole idea of Theon being tortured, him joining up with that hive mind could be part of why Bran is like, "Hey, everything you did prepared you for what you need to do." Right? So like that's
Oh,
one
so Theon
that
had to suffer to be able to suffer.
right, because it would be terrible to like take a normal person and join them to this hive mind.
Wow, Tom,
Um
Tom, I kind of at this point, I'm wishing that you had been going with orgy. This is a harsh theory. This is harsh.
yeah. Yeah, orgy would be more fun. But
A lot more fun.
in, instead, Theon is brutally mentally broken in the same way that this hive mind might be. Um, Now, the main remaining question is why on earth would you need Theon to be merged with this hive mind? How could him being merged with this hive mind potentially do the warding that we have speculated about? That's your
Uh,
last mystery to solve.
my mind kind of goes back to Theon being able to direct the forces of the others so that they only kill certain people and don't kill other people. But maybe also to protect them from the cold. The others bring so much cold. Like I kind of wonder if anybody would be able to survive much of the winter if the others actually showed up. Um, I
So,
might
and
give you one more card on this one.
ooh, is there
You don't know
any
what I'm
cards
talking
I can give that just don't give it away? Is the one thing. Um, I feel like almost all the rest of the cards will give away the final piece. Um, there was a pretty early theory that Michael talks about stuff put out at one point about something that could potentially hold the others at bay. Um, is there
Guest
is there
right.
anything?
Wasn't it about guest right? If I'm remembering correctly, I thought Michael had a video where he talked about how the others actually respect guest right.
Ding. Uh, yes, there's a quote. Your father would have
Is
my
this
head
a bread
off.
and salt theory? Is it a bread and salt theory?
It's your father would have my head off, the king gave a shrug. Though once I had eaten at his board, I was protected by guest right. The laws of hospitality are as old as the first men and as sacred as a heart tree. So yeah, that would sort of imply that that comes from Mance. Uh,
Or are you saying that Theon could be used as a conduit to get the others to agree to accept guest right?
Basically, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep. So can you paint the picture now of how these things come together, right?
I mean, you're gonna have to help me out a little bit, Tom. 'Cause I don't know if the others eat salt and bread, but like, I get what you're saying. Like, they'd be coming down, and then there'd be no way to talk to them, and
All
then
right,
and
all right.
if they were able to get Theon to be able to communicate with them and share their haunted, horrible, lifestyle and presence, that they've been suffering under for a long time, maybe they get them to be accept some terms, do some negotiation. I mean, like people were even able to negotiate with Stalin. Like, if we want to go back to Hearts of Iron, like when I play Stalin. I basically don't negotiate with anybody. You know that, Tom. But in real life, people were able to negotiate all the time. Does this have to do with that? Is this making peace with the others or something?
It is basically that. So the last thing I suppose I could give you as a card is that there is a point where Theon dreams about having a feast with dead Starks, if you recall that.
Okay.
So he's like having a feast, and then all of a sudden, uh, Robert Baratheon is there with his guts spilling out on the table. Ned Stark is
Yeah.
headless, sitting beside him. There are corpses all around. And Rob and Grey Wind even walk in with all of their wounds from the Red Wedding, and this is, I believe, even before the Red Wedding happens. So, the you mentioned that the others may not eat food,
But they
but
might. eat food in the mind, like how like how Daenerys saw all those people eating food in the dream.
Well, the thought would be, if Theon is strapped up to the tree and part of the other's hive mind, meaning that like all of the others and the bodies casting them are part of one mind, what would you need to do to get them all under guest right?
Have them come to your tree.
Nope, you only need to do something with the person who's already at the tree, right?
Okay,
If
you're losing me, Tom.
essentially the theory is that if you strap Theon up to this weirwood tree and merge him with this tortured hive mind, and then you play Here Comes the Airplane with Theon and shove some bread and salt in his mouth,
Then you
you will
fed the
give
others.
you will give Theon guest right, therefore
Oh
giving
my
the
gosh.
entire
Oh my
hive
gosh.
mind
Oh my gosh.
guest right.
That is a wonderful theory, Tom. That is amazing. That the this feeding the others.
Yes,
This is incredible. I love it.
therefore turning Theon into the literal Ward of Winterfell
And
while he is strapped to the tree.
it goes a little bit with the Christ symbolism in a weird way because like the communal wafer kind of thing. If they're feeding him bread, it's like a interesting twist on that whole
It is a
tradition
good point,
plus
yeah.
crucifixion. Which that kind of seems like how George might weave in some Catholicism in a weird way.
Yeah, that's a good point if they do end up shoving, like, a wafer of bread into his mouth, but yeah, basically, if you take Bran's, like, all of this happened for a specific reason, Theon, like, if that's real and that somewhat happens in the books, and Theon's role is anywhat similar to the show, where he protects Bran, and if George is doing a bit of wordplay with the Ward of Winterfell, yeah, they're gonna strap Theon up to a weirwood tree and then play Here Comes the Airplane, and they're gonna feed him some food, and then the others will be trapped under guest right.
I'm impressed, Tom. That's the most creative guest right theory I've ever heard.
Yep, that's that is the Ward of Winterfell theory. So
You might want to call it the wafer of Winterfell theory.
yeah, this is and oh, and I don't know if yeah, we did cover Theon needed his manhood removed because that means he can't be used to make more shadow others to attack people. So he's the perfect person to be strapped up to the tree. He's
Yep.
the tortured mind who is perfect to be strapped up to the tree. This is like this is
Everything he
why
went through.
everything happened.
Yeah,
Yeah,
everything he went through brought him there. It makes total sense in a really weird way.
that's what Bran was saying. And my question is, I know this is very silly and sounds kind of crazy, but if it is so silly, why the heck does all of the evidence line up so well?
It's got to be true. It's got you guys know all of our videos are true anyhow, so
Exactly. It is now that it's an interesting nerd club video, it is 100% confirmed. They're going to
canonical.
feed Theon while he's strapped up to a tree in the winds of winter or a dream of spring. And that's how they solve the other's problem.
That's amazing.
I think that's all we got. So,
I mean, to be honest, yeah, I think that's wonderful, and yeah, I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied with this theory.
boom. Yes. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Hopefully you've enjoyed it, and hopefully you can go out and spread the word that yeah, they're gonna
Yeah,
feed Theon some food, and that's gonna solve everything.
tell your friends that we're gonna feed Theon. That's how the books are gonna end.
Yep, the most important meal of the day.